As we are moving forward here today, I want to talk with you about anything that is important to you. Everything is important and everything is of value. If it is your wanting, we will talk about this emotional scale because we want to show you that the spectrum of emotion ranges from who you really are and what you really know, which is utter power, empowerment, joy, knowledge, well-being, emphasis on freedom and power and empowerment. And the opposite end of the spectrum, which is about as bad as it could ever feel, feels like disempowerment. That's where unworthiness and those fearful thoughts are. And everything that you feel is a graduation of that. Oh, there are hundreds of words, maybe even thousands of words that humans use to describe the different emotional points along this emotional scale. But they are all graduations of your feeling of blissful empowerment and your feeling of disempowerment. And when you think about it, every negative emotion, no matter what you call it, is some degree of your feeling pinched off from your ability to be the free, empowered being that you are. Empowerment is fully allowing your connection to source energy. There is only a stream of well-being, and you are allowing it or you're not. You are allowing the stream or you are resisting the stream. But the stream flows whether you allow it or not. Good is flowing to you whether you let it in or not. Well-being wants you whether you know that it does or not. Your legacy is one of well-being. And so when you are feeling good, you are allowing the well-being. When you are not feeling good, you are not. And it does not matter what justified excuse you use for not allowing it. You could be looking at some fact that has been documented 1,000-fold, and you could say, the reason I feel this way is valid, and we would say, it doesn't matter if it's valid or not. Feeling that way is pinching you off from well-being. You've got to choose something else. You've got to focus somewhere else. But so often people say, I can't focus somewhere else. And then your bright-eyed, bushy-tailed Abraham friend says, you are the creator of your own reality, you know. You should be blissful like me, and you want to just strangle them because there's nothing worse than not feeling good and being around someone who feels good, who thinks that they can just give you a lollipop and you will feel better. And what we're wanting you to understand is that law of attraction will help you, but law of attraction will not let you jump from a frequency of strong disconnection to a frequency of full connection instantaneously. You can't make that jump any more than you can set your radio dial on 101 FM and hear what's being broadcast on 98.6. You cannot be a different vibrational frequency and have access to those other thoughts. But you can reach for thoughts that are close to where you are and focus upon the thought that is close to where you are until the thought that is close to where you have been becomes more dominant in your vibration, and then you move slightly into a new vibrational place. And when you do that, you feel subtle relief. So, we really want you to hear that the way to clean up your vibration and the way to purify your point of attraction and the way to be a vibrational match to who you really are and what you want, the way to that is through the feeling of relief. Now, Joseph Campbell said it as well as we have ever heard it said. We love hearing you repeat it all over the place. Follow your bliss. There were no better, truer, more accurate words ever spoken about getting in touch with your guidance system and following your way to all the well-being that you want and deserve. But following your bliss isn't possible from depression. You can't even get a whiff of bliss from depression. Following your bliss is a wonderful thing if you are in a vibration of appreciation. When you're up there in those vibrations of love, when you feel good, following your bliss, of course that's the way to go. Following your bliss is always the way to go. But you've got to access your bliss before you can follow your bliss. And so sometimes the perfect path to bliss is a sort of angry tantrum. We're not kidding you. From depression, when you get angry, you feel relief. In depression, you feel powerless. You don't want to get out of bed. You can hardly breathe. The walls are closing in on you. Everything is dark. But if you can find some bugger to be angry at, you can reach a vibration of anger from a vibration of depression. Can't you? And wouldn't you rather be angry than depressed? Most of you vacillate from overwhelmment and frustration to ecstasy. In other words, most of you are in those ranges. And you dip only on rare occasion into depression. And so don't go home and tell everyone Abraham's coaching you all into having anger. Because if you're up here, we're not going to coach you into anger. We're only going to coach you upstream. The cork bobs on the surface of the water. When you hold the cork under the water, that's what negative emotion is. When you let go of it, the cork bobs back to the surface. And so down here at the depths of depression is that feeling of powerless and depression. But when you reach for a thought that makes you just angry, your cork moves up just a little bit. So you can go from that depression to anger. It's possible to make that jump. No matter how bad you feel, and let's say, for sake of this example, you feel really, really bad. Let's say it's the depths of despair. If you say, I'm going to reach for a thought that I have access to, and that's the key word, a thought that I have access to that gives me some relief, and you find an angry thought, and you feel relief, only this time you say, I consciously chose this angry thought, and I deliberately feel better. Can you feel how you have regained power? Can you feel how disempowerment is now softened significantly? And isn't it logical that if I can get that far into anger, that now I can reach for thoughts that are even less angry? And that if I can find thoughts that are even less angry, that then I can find some thoughts that are more like frustration, and then thoughts that are more like overwhelmment? And if I can get to overwhelmment, then shouldn't I be able to get to pessimism? And from pessimism, shouldn't there be hope somewhere on the horizon? And from hope, shouldn't I be able to reach maybe into optimism? And from optimism, shouldn't I find a little pigtail or piece of belief? And from believing, shouldn't I be able to get to knowing? And from knowing, shouldn't I be able to find that feeling of empowerment and joy and knowledge? In other words, if you say, no matter where I am, I'm going to try to find relief. And in finding relief, I'm going to release resistance. And in releasing resistance, I'm going to move into a better feeling place. And then if I keep doing that, isn't it logical to you that from wherever you are, no matter where you are, that you can get to wherever you want to be? But what has happened to so many is that from the depths of despair, they've tried to make the jump, the quantum leap jump to bliss. And then when they don't make the jump, they end up back in despair. All of you, unconsciously and in a self-surviving instinct, know that you're supposed to feel good. And when you don't, you just go berserk. That little boy, when his mother said to him, you are bad, a self-survival anger came forth within him because her version was so out of whack with what every fiber of his being knows. Now, don't misunderstand. We don't want to coach you into anger and then just leave you there. But we see so many who go naturally to anger, and then their family and friends and counselors are alarmed that they have chosen anger because, well, think about it. Wouldn't you rather your friend is depressed than angry? When they're depressed, they go lay down, they leave you alone. When they're angry, they're in your face, making your life miserable. We understand why you would not want to encourage someone into the life-giving breath of fresh air that anger can give them. But we would coach them into anger. And we would coach them into recognizing that they've done it on purpose, and then we would coach them into the next best feeling too. And so sometimes what you've seen in yourself and others is you go from depression to anger, to depression, to anger, depression, and anger, to depression, to anger, because you feel it's inappropriate, that you should be angry. And then you start feeling unworthy again. You start feeling guilty. And we have to say to you that guilt and fear and all of those disempowering feelings are all taking you the wrong way on this emotional scale. So what do you want to talk about? Begin right here and then right there. Yes.